Well, thank you for giving your time for the interview for Progressive Rock Community. I have some questions for the program called Short Chat with Non Prog Musician, and it's my pleasure to have you here. And the first question that I have is, what did make you the person that you are today?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah, in brief.
In brief,
Yeah.
well, I think, of course, there is the possibilities that I have that I have used, and that is, of course, the community that raised me, and schooling system and everything. And of course, it's one part of it is talent and using that talent for something.
Okay.
But the third part of it, I think, is to become myself. Is of course to try to be yourself all the time and get rid of anything that is not you.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that's my best answer to this vast question.
Yeah, that's very good. Who are your favorite artists? You know, whoever, something like painter, musician, filmmakers,
Oh, that's
who,
also
who have influenced you.
I guess there are so many artists that I feel have influenced me. But on the saxophone, maybe I should say my fellow Norwegian, Jan Garbarek. And the way he has influenced me is that he has found his own voice on the saxophone out of his influences again, and so he has inspired me how to try to find my own way of playing this instrument.
Okay.
Of course, there are many others that I could mention, like Stan Getz, John Coltrane. They are monoliths in the jazz world.
Okay.
Then on the singing, it's of course again another. I'm very inspired by old 78 recordings with opera and Caruso. These old singers that were part of the earliest recording history of classical singing. I think it's very interesting to hear them and compare it to what's happening now and see that that opera singing and classical singing was much more rocky, to say it that way, or more grungy, or more maybe individual before than it is now. So I tend to like to listen to the old recordings, and of course I love visual arts, and I've been working as a graphic designer too, and
That's great.
and architecture inspires me. So yeah, I think it's all part of a mixture of what inspires me.
Great. Based on on your genre, where do you think it has more fans to listen to your kind of music?
I experience on my concert that there are some jazz fans that are with me because they like how I play the jazz. And then since I started singing, there are some opera fans who are into classical singing and tenor singing. But mainly I think my audience are those who just like music and are not so occupied with what kind of genre it is. I think more and more people are a little bit, the way we listen to music today is different from how it used to be. We don't go into a record shop so much more anymore and look through the shelves and go to different genres.
Yeah.
We have Spotify, we have YouTube, we have our iPhone or our phone that sort of shuffles all the music for us. So suddenly you can have like classical music, and then you can have heavy rock or and then you can have a jazz piece, and it just follows each other. And it's sort of just a mixture, and this is how I like to listen to music as well.
All right. When the music releases, do you prefer to listen on Spotify, or you want to buy the vinyl or CD to have a lesson on that? Which one do you prefer?
I use Spotify and Tidal as sort of reference things, but to listen to new music and what's come out, and also to listen to inspirations and things like that. But things I really like and treasure, I need to have a hard copy of, and I have a vinyl player, and I try to play some vinyl, and I try to collect a little bit of vinyl. I like to have I like the format of it, and I like to hold it in my hand, and I also like that you have to go and turn it, and it implies that you have to listen more actively to a vinyl recording.
Okay, that's really good. Do you have any thoughts on progressive rock genre, something like 70s or 80s music, which they have many bands like Camel, King Crimson, Yes, or other bands?
I have never been so much into it because, and I think it's because of my instrument. Of course, there are saxophones in the bands that you are mentioning, of some of them, but it's also mainly an electric guitar genre. And electric guitar and saxophone is somewhat difficult to mix because electric guitar always eats up all my frequencies in the saxophone. But there is, between progressive rock and jazz, there are so many links.
Yeah.
And between, Zappa and jazz, and between King Crimson and jazz, and the way they treat harmonies and rhythms, and it's. I think there are many jazz bands that gets their inspiration from progressive rock and vice versa. So it's very compatible.
Have you ever been into a progressive rock concert or?
Yeah, yes, I think I don't have any names for you, but in many jazz festivals and many concert halls there are references to progressive rock all the time, and some bands. But I don't know any names actually. But sometimes our own band in Norway called Jaga Jazzist. It's kind of progressive rock-y sometimes, I think, and I've heard them.
Do you have any new releases that are it might be released in the future?
Yes. I just released a trio album with an accordion player and a bass player, and in this trio we just try to go further on just blurring out the borders between genres. So I sing opera arias and I play the saxophone, and we just mix it with a lot of improvisation, having fun. I think music can have a lot of humor as well. It doesn't have to always be so serious. And so we have just released it in Europe, and I also plan that we will make more albums with this trio because it's so fun. So I hope to release something with them in the future.
That's very good. At the end of the interview, if you don't mind, I would like to play one of your songs at the end of that. What song do you want to be played?
You can play my solo piece called Oslo, which is from it's a 10-year-old album where I just went into a room in Oslo and improvised for 2 nights, and then I picked out what I thought was the best, and suddenly this song just popped out of my imagination. It was not composed or prepared, it just suddenly happened. And this is how I work. It's I listen to a lot of music, and then I use all my inspiration and try to make spontaneous compositions on the spot, and Oslo is one of them.
Good luck with your career, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.